Okay, everybody, I'm going to start about 4 or 5 minutes a little bit late. I had to have some things done here. So hang on, and if you come into the room, I'll probably have a BRB, but I'll be right back. Let me throw this up here right now. And we'll get started in about 5 minutes. I'll put this up so you can get that information there. And of course, anything, if you have to head on to class or something, anything you miss, we'll catch it on the back end. I'll post the video file over there so you can see later, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let me put this up here to 36, and so you can see that on the screen. And we're over here. So if you should happen to join, or if you're just going to watch the recording, I'll get started in about 5 minutes or so. And let me see, I'll adjust my, we'll be good there. And I'll mute my sound here for just a few minutes, and then we'll get started. And like I said, if it's on the back end, you can catch it on the front end. If you have extra time, you can catch this on the back end after I post it. There we go. And you should have some sound now. Thank you so much. I had a little bit of a technical issue there I had to deal with. And let's see who's with me here. Jared, thank you so much. And as I had mentioned, you and anyone else who comes in, I'll run over some time. So if you have to, if you have to take off, feel free. But I'm recording this cast, and we're at week 3. And I'll take a look real quickly here at what we've got going on. And you're going to see some things that typically you don't. So let me go ahead and put this into settings, and you can get the I can go to the student view, I think, and we'll pop this over here and try to go back to settings. That's weird. Some strange stuff here today. I'll go to the settings, and we'll go to the student view. Okie dokie. So we're at week 3. Now what we're going to do today is we're going to work on chapter 2 in the Patrick text, and that's Lunch's Database 2. You have some things coming up on the 14th that are due, and the 4 Access workshops that are due. Here are some resources for you to take a look at, and I think it would be very, very good, especially in view of some of the things that have been going on. But here's some interesting websites that use mapping, and here's an interesting website, a live air traffic control, and a flight viewer. So these are things I would encourage you to take a look at. Now, I also want to just quickly mention the New York Times today has a kind of really interesting article about Amazon over in their text section. So you'll want to take a look at it. And if you've never had a chance to see, I'll click that. Okay. They're also celebrating the iPhone. But if you've never had a chance to see what Amazon's doing, this would probably be the time. And I think it's going to be over here, maybe in the business section. But I ran into it today, and it was just incredible. But there's also a good article about the iPhone, and the iPhone really does use a lot of database concepts, especially the use of apps. So I won't go too much further into that. Those are there, of course, for you to see, and you see the work that we're doing. Now, I'm going to close this off for just a second and go over to the syllabus section. Okay, and again, Jared is aware. I think you had seen it, and Carolyn, you as well. I got started a little bit late, so if you have to go on to class, that's fine. I'm going to record through the whole thing, and then you can always catch it on the back end, whatever you might miss. So don't be late if you get to another class. I just wanted to get us acquainted in terms of the syllabus. Now, Lunch's Database 1, which we worked on already, is due the 21st. We're going to work on Lunch's Database number 2 today. And as I mentioned before, this uses the Patrick text, so you really should have it with you. That's the one that's the SQL fundamentals, and you ought to have it with you. And I'll go through the text, and we're not going to do all of the queries. I'm going to do a variety of them so you see. The whole notion is that each time you do some queries or types of queries, you're going to build. But the one thing, there were a couple of things in the text I would want to bring to your attention. And the very first is over on page 33, where they talk about getting a few columns and rows from a table. And they show you there, that's there at the bottom of page 33, they show you a fairly typical table that has 5 fields, a whole bunch of rows. And then we use a query to extract that data out of there. And you remember we've talked about the analytical cube, okay, where I have these different dimensions about some transaction or my customer, or it's usually about some key party involved in the transactions themselves, internal and external, and how we slice and dice all that. Well, we're gonna be writing some SQL, okay? And really what we'll be doing is taking some code that's been developed by the author. We'll look at kind of a little business problem that he has to get working with this one particular database, the lunches database. And we'll do that each week as we go through these chapters. Now, again, I would encourage you to make sure you have the book open as we go through it and understand kind of the algorithm or the way the way he's put this together. Now, over on page 34, he talks about the overview of a select statement, and just about every select statement has those elements. The columns are going to get the data from, the table, which rows, if we do any grouping, if we have any condition or we're searching for some condition, and then finally how we want to have them ordered, okay? And he talks about, and you'll notice there in page 35, he has a task at the top. It's kind of a word problem. You'll see this top of page 35. And then he gives you the Oracle and Access SQL, and you'll notice some little numbers, and that's where he gives some more explanation about what's going on in that particular line of code. And this stuff's already in the file, and I'll show you. And then he shows you the beginning table and then the result table. So this is a nice, the text is laid out very nicely. So we're going to work on Lunches Database 2 today, and my hope is we'll get through 3 and 4, or at the very least 3 on Thursday. So let's look at the files section for just a moment, okay? And we're using a data warehouse concept, and I've emphasized that a lot. So let's go and let's find the Patrick materials, okay? And that's going to be down here. It's going to be called the Patrick materials. Here it is, the zip file, okay? And I'm going to download it, okay? And I'm going to save it on my desktop, okay? And I think I'm going to be okay here. This is strange. Let me get rid of it for just a minute, okay? And I'm going to bring it down here. Oops, I got something weird going on here. Hang on a minute. Okay, and see, I'm going to diminish this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to diminish it and throw it on my desktop. And SQL Fun, and then we'll talk about this here in just a minute. Make sure I've got all three of them. There's SQL Fun, there's the code, and then that other text file. Now, I'll open this back up for a moment, and I'm going to open up the Patrick text. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Here's the access code, okay? And he has the code for each of the chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. Now, I'm going to scoot this over just a hair and open up SQL Fun. You can see how crowded my desktop is. Trashy looking desktop here at home. And we had talked about the data warehouse concept, and we're going to put that into action. As you mentioned before, we can take the idea of a data warehouse and apply it to a single database as what we're going to do here, or we could take and take several databases and use them as part of a data warehouse, or we could take and extract data out of the warehouse, out of a database, and put it into another format where we exported those files, for example, in Excel. So this is a versatile concept, okay? And we're going to be doing that. And you'll see here all the tables that we'll be working with, okay? And so each time when you upload, just upload what we run from that chapter, and there are going to be some queries down there. These are some queries that have what we call some constants in them, and that's going to be pretty much it. So we're going to open up that text file, okay, for chapter 2. All right, and here it is, and we're going to run some queries. We're going to start with this very first one, 2.2. Okay, and like I said, we won't run all of them, okay, but we will run enough of a flavor of them that you'll get what's going on. So, and again, let me say I had a few more of you join us. I wanted to make sure we got started a little bit late, so I'm going to run a little bit over 12:45. So if you have to go to class, it's okay, because once I save this and put it up at YouTube, you can always see the back end of it, okay? So don't worry about that. It would be different if you came in early. So I got started late, so we're good to go. Now I'm going to click Create. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'll click Create, and I'm going to do the query design, and I'm going to take it down to the SQL view. Now, by default, you'll see here that the word select shows up, so just get rid of that. You don't need it. And then paste in the code, all right? And we're going to do the data sheet view first. Okay, now, if you have your book with you, which you should, to get the most out of this, you'll see that they ask us to do a select statement where we list the employee ID, last name, and their credit limit. Okay, and that's the little word problem that is at the top of page 35, and there in the middle of 35, we see how that gets translated, and he shows you the select statement you get, and you'll see the little numbers. Okay, they explain. They're part of little notations, and you'll see those notations next over on page 36. Okay, and then you'll see at the bottom of page 35 the beginning table, and now you see the ending table. Now, here's what we've done. We've identified, we've extracted, okay, through the select query, the data that we want. Now, I'm going to save this query, okay, I'm going to save it as 2-2-2. Why? Well, that's the exercise that we worked on, okay? So I saved it, and you'll see it just popped up right there. Now, if I wanted to do some more numerical work, let's say I have 1,000 of these employee IDs, not just 7 of them or how many ever it is, and I wanted to look at some things on their credit limit, like what's the average, what seems to be the they're all at 25, but if you had a whole bunch of varying amounts, obviously what you do then, using this concept of a warehouse, is take it, all right, and export it to, say, Excel, and then you could do some more heavy lifting there numerically if you needed to do that, or you could take it and put it into a pivot table and play around with it. That's this whole concept. In a warehouse, not only do people store things and then go get them, but when someone places an order, okay, they have to get all the different stuff. And I hope you'll get the Amazon that it's over at the New York Times today. But they had this article, and I'll have to find it. And I sent it to the students in MIS, so I should send it to you guys too. But it has videos of the inside of their warehouse, and it's absolutely mind-boggling to see what all those computers are doing. And one of the interesting things, and we've talked about this if you're taking MIS with me, or if you're taking MIS, one of the things that Lowe's is doing, it's either them or Home Depot. They have devised a robotic. It's like a prosthetic device. But it's a robotic thing, and you could strap it on the front, and it has arms. And you can, and that enables people to lift up to 350 or 400 pounds. So, which is just incredible. And we're going to see more and more of that kind of stuff develop. But those shots of the robots and things running around in that Amazon warehouse, and they talk about the employees who work there, the kinds of skills they have to have, that type of thing. It's really worth your time and energy to see it. And it was very apropos for the MIS course because they were having a case study where they had to decide which was the top retailer, Amazon or Google. Okay, well, we've done a very simple query here. Okay, so we saved it as 2.2, and now we have 3 views. We have the data sheet view, the results set. Then we can go to what I call the GUI, or the graphic user interface, and this is where most people work. It may not look like this, okay? It may be a little prettier, but this is where most people work. In fact, when you go buy, when you go to buy something, etc., you usually work at the design view using a drag and drop environment or a click down environment, and then maybe a free area where you can put in a criteria. And in this point, we ask for everybody who has a credit limit greater than 20. Now, if we want to, we could put, we could look for everybody who has a credit limit less than 20, and we'll go back and see if there, and there's 2 people, okay? But we'll go back down to our original, to the original query, and it's anybody who is greater than $20, okay? Now, notice up in the left corner, I've got a view, that's the data sheet view. Think of that, okay, like print preview, because now we're going to execute the query, okay? And I really I say play it on the safe side and do this first and see if what you get is workable, because once you've run this query, you'll just have to go back and delete it. You've executed. Now notice the toolbar up here. It showed us, hey, you're doing a select query. Okay, so that's basically what we've done there as far as 2.2. Now, just as we tour through chapter 2, you're going to see an overview of the select clause. That's there on page 37. That's good. That's good for you to have. And we're going to, and if you look in the middle of page 38, you're going to see a query 2.3, and I want to show you what they're talking about. So I'm going to close this off, and I'm going to save it. Yeah. Okay, and don't forget, this is your SQL fund. So when you're working on the desktop, when we're finished here, upload it for Lunch's database too. Okay, that's what you're working on here today. I'm going to click Create, Query Design. I'm going to close this. Okay, I'm going to go down to the SQL view. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to put Select asterisk. Okay, and from 1_employees. All right, and now what I'm saying is I want to get everything for the employees table. Up. So what did I do? I had select from, oh, whoa, I made an error. Forgot to put the semicolon at the end of this thing. What is this giving me? Is it L employees or what? It should be one. Maybe it's the L employees. Oh my gracious goodness!
You have a bracket in the middle of it.
Underscore employees. There we go. Now, here's an example of something I want to tell you. This would be query 2.3, okay, if you wanted to. But you know what we just did? We just did a little bit more work than we would have to do if we did this. I'm going to close this up and I'll show you. Just go find that table. Right-click it, open it. Okay? So there are going to be some of these queries like this, where it's just you'll just come to see, yeah, I know what that's all about. Now, query 2.4 that's over on page 39 is a different animal, and let's look at that. And now you say you're in your text, okay? You've got your text box, and scroll down and find 2.4. Okay, and I'm going to copy all of that. Okay, now before I run it, I want to tell you what you're looking at. This is the task the business problem, if you will, or what they want in terms of information, is there at page 39. And at the bottom of 39, they give you the Oracle and the Access SQL. And note they give you some notes there, okay? And here's what we're doing. We are hard coding in, okay, we're hard coding in a constant or a phrase or a flag, okay, for this table. And he talks about us using a column alias. Here's the column alias right here. Okay, when you see that anything as, and you'll see that here in just a moment. So I'm going to copy all of this. Okay, and this will be a methodical thing, and after a while you'll be ahead of me thinking, hey, he's so slow. I know. I'm going to close this off. Probably are already. I'll run this query. And there we are. And this is going to be 2.4, so I'm going to save it. Like I said, we're not going to do all of these. If you want to be my guest, what you'll find yourself doing is a whole lot of, it's 2 or 3 examples. It's like the author, doesn't want to show you once. He wants to show you 17 times. And notice what we've got here. We have the employees numbered. Then you say, wait a minute. I'm going to go to design view. Dr. Harmon, I'll ask you a question. Why are those employee numbers in order when you didn't sort them that way? It's a very simple proposition. In all databases, they order everything in ascending order by default. If you want them in any other order, which the only other order is descending, but most of them are ascending. And then if you want something different, you have to. If you want them in descending order, you have to clarify that. Okay. You could do the same thing with the extensions. You could put this with the last names if you want to. I'll show you what we're talking about here for just a minute. There's the SQL view. Okay. And let's go back to the design view. And on the last name, instead, I'm going to click sort the last names in ascending order. And now I have everybody who's evaluated as an excellent worker. And what we did is we went in and we chose anybody who has a rating of 10. And we added this column called evaluation, and we hard coded in the field a constant, and that's that phrase, excellent worker. And you'll see, we go back in here for a minute. We'll go into the SQL view real quickly. You can see it better over here. And this one thing, that message, I'll get rid of it. But this thing you can see, here we have a single quote, the phrase in the single quote. So we'll back up here, and we've done 2, 4, okay? So we're just kind of building on these each time, and we look for anybody who has that rating of 10. We'll go back down to the design view, and we really created 2. This rating 10 is an expression, okay? And let's go back down to the SQL view, and we'll see this for just a minute. Well, pop it up here. I'm sorry. 10 as rating. So we had a column for rating already, and if you go at the bottom, at the top, and at page 40, you're going to see the beginning table, okay, and the result table for 2.4. Okay, so that, and then we have the result table, and we put what we did the last name as evaluation and 10 as rating, and we put in excellent worker. Okay, So we added, we did what we call a hard code. Now, they walk us over here to 2.5, and I bet you can't guess what's going to happen here. We're going to select everything from the employees table, okay? And they talk about using a select clause to get a list of all the columns. Well, here you are, and this will show you all the columns because it's going to show you the entire table. Now, if you come over to page 43, you're going to see a variation on that. And this is where the manager, where we're going to select from the employees, where the manager ID is null, okay? And this will give me an occasion. So we'll copy that. It's at 2.5 variation 1. And I'm going to click create, go to the query design, close this off, boom. And now, and you'll see, and what we're doing is we're using a conditional statement where the manager ID is null, and we'll run that, and there it is. And they say, well, okay, what happened here? Well, this gives me a nice segue into what we call the problem of nulls. That is a blank field. A null and a 0 are not the same thing. If it's 0, I know it's the absence of something, like the absence of money or the absence of temperature. But when I see an empty column like I got right here, this makes me crazy. And any end user and any manager who would see this, it ought to make them crazy because it's data that we didn't get. We don't know why we didn't get it, but we don't have their ID. Now, it could be that these two people are supervisors, but we don't know. And this is one of the things you probably will hear. You'll hear me talk about this. You probably heard me talk about this when we built tables, when you're back with me in 1123. If you took it with me, what drives me crazy is to have fields where we don't require the data. If you don't require it, don't have the field. There's no point. And as we've talked so much about this concept of a data warehouse, so much about this concept of dimensions or attributes, and then fact tables and that type of thing, empty fields like this are the bane of your existence. So we're gonna name this, and we're save it as 2-5, and I'm going to call it and put the words all together. Variation 1. Okay, so it'd be 2-5 variation 1. You say, why did you cram these all together? Because if I don't have an underscore with them, they become extraordinarily difficult to work with. Okay, so we'll just save that, and there we've done those two queries, and then we'll get the data sheet view on 2.4, and we'll close it off. We'll say, yeah, we'll keep this changes. So we've done 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. A lot of times, folks, there are going to be some of these that it's just, you could see it just in the book, and there's no point in running it. Here's a good example. 2.2-6. Okay. Now, I'll show you here real quickly. As you scroll down, there's a second variation on 2.5, and this you use the order. Okay. Now, this is using the select distinct. Okay. From the employees table. And select distinct means get a list of each manager. If there are duplicate listings, just get one listing. And they show you that there on page 45. Okay? Now, they have a variation, this 261 variation 1, where they select the distinct manager from the employees table. And you say, oh, I'm starting to see this. Yeah, this is about usually when the light bulb goes on, where the employee ID and basically has 201, 208, 210, and that gives you that result set. And they show you the result set. It should show you result set over there on. So you want 201, 208, 210. Where did they do this? Well, let's just run this. You may not have loaded it in there. But we'll click Create, Query Design. Now, there are going to be some times where it's just easier. Okay, yeah, he does. It's that null and manager 203. Now let's look at the design view of this. Okay, and we want the employee in 201, 208, 210. Now, he wants us to get the distinct columns. We want to get the distinct the distinct manager IDs. Okay, and here we had used that in the N. Okay, and what we do is we limit the number of rows. He talks about this at the bottom of page 46. Okay, so let's save this as 2.6 and we'll move on, because there's some other types of queries we want to work with. So we're going to call this 2-6. All right. Now, (2.7) and as he mentions here, it's a select clause to get the distinct values in 2 columns. Earlier we did 1 column. This time we're going to do 2 columns. So we're going to look at 2.7 here. Okay. And we're going to get, and I bet you can't guess which 2 columns we're going to get the data from. I'm being facetious. Of course you can. You know we're going to get it from the district manager ID and the credit limit. So let's click copy. Okay. And I do the query design. You said, oh, is this all this is about? Yeah. But understanding the warehouse concept is another, that's the important thing. And we're going to run this here. And here we are. We have the manager ID and the credit limit. All right. And he shows you that result set right down there in the middle of page 49. Now, Access shows some null data there, okay? Because even if everything, if there are any null values, it reports them as well by default. You didn't say is null, but it shows you all the distinct ones. A record with 2 null values, that's unique. Okay? A record with 1 null value, that is in manager ID, and then something credit, that's a unique. If you had one that had something here but not here, you'd have a third unique. So it gave us the distinct it gave us the distinct manager IDs, and we're going to save this. And this is a good example of garbage in, garbage out if you really want to know the truth. So this is 2.7. Okay, we're working on it. And over on page 51, you see you're just going right through the book, Dr. Herman. Yeah, because this is the best way I know to see it, kind of build on them and see what's going on. So we'll save that query. Okay. And we've got, and as we scroll down, just make sure you keep kind of track, and you've got your, you know, you got 2.2, 2.4, we did 5, 6, 7. And over on page 50 and then page 51, he shows you the where clause and then all the conditions that flow from it. Okay? And of course, this involves, you know, equivalencies, sets, ranges, patterns, finding nulls, any kinds of Boolean connectors. That table, you know, I've been working with this stuff for a long time, And I use this table myself when I say, what am I really trying to get here? And the examples are really very good. And you could run a query using every single one of these for a specific purpose. And it's conditional, it's conditional logic. It's using conditional statements, okay? So that's that's, when we use the in, it means anything that's in a set. And credit limit as a column, as a dimension, is a set. And that's why you'll see there in the middle of page 51, it says the word in, and the meaning is it's in a set, and then give you an example of a credit limit in 15 or 25. So it's going to choose everybody that has a credit limit of $15 or $25. Okay? So there really isn't a query to run on 2.8 per se. Now over on page 52, he talks about the equal condition. Okay, and so we begin this issue, and let's look at it real quickly. And you can run it just so you can have the thrill of running it. Yeah, at this point in the next couple of weeks or so, as I go through these, you'll probably just go feed the dog, walk the dog, or watch TV or something while I have this recording, because you'll see it. And here, let's walk through this query real quick. We're going to select the employee ID, the first name and the last name, and the manager ID, and the hire date from the employees table, where the manager ID is 203. So everybody who reports to manager 203 is going to be included there. That's the where clause, and we're using the equivalence clause. And then he has some little variations on it. Okay. And you say, what's the difference of this one, this 2.9, and this 2.9 example 2? Well, in this case, we did a hard code, okay? And we looked for anybody whose name was Henry. Now, because we had the IDs, because the IDs were either set up as a number or a text, and I don't remember, we could just use a straight. The machine will let us get away. We can kind of cheat with these, because the machine says, I'm not sure if it's a number or text, but I'm just going to give you the output anyway, because it looks suspiciously like a number, but by the same time, it could be a text. But if I didn't put these quote marks around Henry, trust me, I'm going to get junk. So this is, you can see, manager ID is 203, and then here in this variation on the theme, where the first name is Henry, okay? And they give us a third example where we use a date, okay? So everything up to this point, where I've got everything I've highlighted in these queries, is all the same. The only difference is the where statement. That's why queries are such incredibly powerful tools, because I'm working with people and who they report to. I'm just changing the condition under which I select them or I include them. Okay, and then it gives you a fourth. Okay, and here he throws a little bit of a wrinkle. Watch what's going on. This is in 2.4. He says first name as given name. You say, oh, is that an alias? Yep, that's an alias. Okay, and then their last name, so they're going to anybody whose first name is Paula, and it's going to fall under that given name. And so we're going to copy this and just let you see it. Okay, so I'll make sure I copy that. And then I'll do query design, close this off, I'll go to SQL, run this Joule, and there we be. Everybody who has a first name of Paula. And let's go down to the design view, and you'll see, and I'll make sure I acknowledge you quickly. I'm not sure who 214 is, but welcome, glad to have you here. Conley, glad to see you. Jared, Carolyn, thank you so much. And of course, what I'd ask you to do, if you have a microphone, go ahead and mute it so I don't hear your dog bark or the noise from the bar where you're listening in. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. Okay. But if you have a question, you can always use the little chat thing and it'll pop up and I'll be able to visit with you. Or you can say, hey, I want to turn on my mic. I have a question. Okay. So you do have the opportunity to answer questions if you want to. Here we are. And we use that column alias, okay, where the first name is Paula, and there's the result set. And we've got, would it be possible that we had two Paula Jacobs working for us? Yeah. Is it possible that we would have two Paula Jacobs who have the same manager? Possible. Is it possible we would have two Paula Jacobs who work for the same manager who were hired on the same day? If I'm large enough an organization, it probably happened. So how do I keep it straight? Well, that's why we have that thing called the employee ID, which is a unique record. Okay. Now we're getting these data from the employees table. And so we're going to save this query, and this is 29. We're just going to call this 29 and 29 example 4 is what I'll call it. 29 example 4. And we'll click OK. I want to show you something. Okay, and this has to do with table design. It's important. We're working with the employees table, right? Let's open it up, go into design view, and notice, okay, the employee ID is a primary key, okay, and it's a number. And if you look down here to the bottom, you'll see the field properties. You'll see, is it required? No, that's insanity. Is it indexed? Yes, no duplicates. It gives me a chance to talk for just a moment about an index. An index is an algorithm used for a search, okay? And basically, what that means is we know, and this is really the realm of what you would get in a data the data course that they take in computer science, data structures, excuse me. We know, for example, last names of people tend to cluster within a certain set of letters. People who work in forensic accounting, for example, know that certain patterns will appear when people are embezzling money or they're fudging on the records or something. That it's there, okay? And it's no different than if you at OBU. I think if you mess up your login 3 times, you got to get a new password, and that's because the chances of it are of you. The chances of you not knowing that and 3 times missing it are pretty low, okay? But maybe you forget and you just do a restart. But and a lot of times, I have a couple of websites. I have to redo the I forget the password, so I have to redo it every single time. But hey, it's better than someone else having my password. Well, we've run 2.9, okay? And we're working through that so far. You say, oh, okay, this is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. No, it's not. And the reason is you're not writing the queries. Now you're going to get a chance at the end of the semester. I'll give you a major assignment called Check Your Understandings, and I'll let you write some of these. And some of these it's going to be a challenge. And you'll find some of these that will be easier to write in the SQL. Others you'll want to work in the design view rather than writing a query. Let me give you an example. Let's click up here for a moment up on the database tools, and let's see if there are some relationships between these tables. Oh my gracious goodness, are there ever? I told you this was a data warehouse, okay? It's a data warehouse because you and I have a whole bunch of queries we want to run on all these tables that are connected, okay? Now I'm going to close this for just a moment. And I'm going to I'm going to click create, and I'm going to go to query design, okay? And let's say that I want to get, I want to use the employees table, okay? And I want to add the, let's see, the foods. And let's see if there's any departments. Now, I'm just kind of exploring here, okay? And I want to get, let's see, I've got foods, and I'm going to click on suppliers and see if that's got a really, let's close this off for a minute. Now, you see what I'm doing. Now, this is, most of you, when you work with databases, okay, will be working with something like this. Now, what we're going to try to run a query here for just a minute. You see, writing the code for this, whoo, it'd be a bunch of inner joins. How do I know? I can click on this little black thing and I'll show you. And you know, all of you have known me well enough. I'm a lazy slug. If I can do it easier, I'll do it. As long as it's right, I don't care. So I'm going to get the first name and the last name for the employee table. Okay. And I'm going to get their department code. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to get the, let's see, I'm going to get the product code and the supplier name. And let's just see what we get with this disparate set of stuff. And wow, look at that. Okay. Now, to show you what I mean, let's go to the SQL view, and you tell me, would you rather use the design view or would you rather write code like this? And if you tell me you'd rather write the code, I'm going to tell you, you need to go see somebody over at the GC. So one of the reasons that drag and drop, one of the reasons that object-oriented programming is so worthwhile for us is that it lets us work in an environment with icons that makes some sense. That's kind of a nonsensical table, so we'll just close off. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so there's no need to keep it. Now, he walks us over into he takes us over into page 56. He launches us into section 210. And this is where we test conditions using the where clause, okay? And he shows you the operands there in the middle of 56, and then he starts to walk us through some examples. And let's look here in our code. All right, here's 210. And notice this is, we're going to select employees. Look at how this is the same. Here's an algorithm. You hear people talk about an algorithm? Here's one. Okay? The ID, the first name, last name, credit limit. But now, what makes this algorithm so powerful, okay, is that I add the conditional statement. I use a where the credit limit is less than 1750, where the credit limit equals 1750, or it's greater than 1750. So he shows us a variation of these. And we're just going to run this very first one, okay? And you say, wow, this is not, that's true. Let me tell you something. Right now, you know more about databases and know more about how powerful a tool they are than 95% of the people that you will be working with or working for, or will be working for you. Okay, and you will hopefully you should be able to have an intelligent conversation with the people in IT. So you won't be one of those idiots that sit in a meeting and go, can you find out about 453 different columns of data and rows of data for some obscure fact that has no meaning or any use for us? I'm just curious. You get a lot of those. You get a lot of companies that get query crazy, get query happy, or they installed a database and they thought it would be, and they forgot. Human beings designed databases, okay? Human beings input the data into databases, okay? The only exception is if you have stuff that's scanned, okay? But somebody had to write the code for the scan patterns to be equal to something. So if you're not careful, you'll get garbage in, garbage out. Well, we're going to run this, Okay, and there we are. We got everybody whose credit limit is greater than, here's the first name, the last name, and there's the credit limit, and it's less than 1750. Okay, so I'm going to save this as 210, 2-10. So you're being awfully methodical. Yes. No other way to be with this stuff. Now, look, he gives us some other variations, and there's no point. You can, if you feel compelled to do this, run every single one of them. I try to give you a flavor of them so you kind of see it. Okay. Now you say, oh, I think I know what this means. Where everybody whose credit limit is not equal to or greater than 1750. So I mean, if their credit limit's $18, they're not included. If their credit limit's $17.50, not included. If their credit limit is $16, yeah, we include it. Okay, because we're using the where not. Okay, and that and you'll just see, we ran the one earlier, and we do this, and then we'll do a query design. Now, the author walks us through this, and he does a fairly decent job. And I'll close this off for a minute. And I'm just going to click create, and then the query design. I'll close that. And I'll go to SQL. And he does a good job of showing us these variations on a thing. So here are two employees whose credit limit is less than or equal to 1750. Okay? And if you're like me and a weather junkie, the coverage, and I would flip between CNN and the Weather Channel. I was astounded at how well at the high speed databases that those people were using to track Hurricane Irma, the pathway of Irma. It was unbelievable, and that stuff's not possible without high speed computing. Okay, and extremely sophisticated databases. So the weather person, the meteorologist, can sit back there and really create. Basically, they create an interactive. They basically create an interactive PowerPoint session with you as they walk you through and show you the screen. But it's just amazing. Now, here's the deal. That data came from somewhere, and the somewhere it came from were those brave people at NOAA, okay, the National Oceanic and something else is the federal agency, the people who get in planes and fly into hurricanes and throw out, they're usually kind of a ball or device. They explained it the other night, but they open up with a parachute. They're like a buoy, and they collect data. Okay, and they know how to see the thing. They use radar first of all to kind of get a sense, and then they see it. The guy flew one of those things through the hurricane. So you had a human being ultimately putting that data. So these are databases, or I think spreadsheets for decision making. There's just nothing better. But we've done that variation of 210, and so we're going to save this as just 2-10. Says already. Well, I'm going to call it. I'm going to save this as 210. And we might have destroyed the other, but that's all right. Not a big deal. He walks us to the top, page 54, and that uses the where not. Okay. And then a not equal condition. And that's just more, and you'll see it on page 59. Okay. And like I said, if you feel compelled to use it, and again, if you've got to leave for class, because we'll be getting up to the 1:45 time and still be going, please feel free, because I got started late. But you can see there on page 59 where he's using the knot, and this is going to be equated. This is going to be 211. And here's what he's saying. Here's the algorithm. And now look, let's say this is like French fries. Okay, what I've got, French fries. I like French fries with ketchup, obviously. I like French fries with 57 sauce, Heinz 57. You ever heard of that? I like ketchup with barbecue sauce. French fries, I mean. I like French fries with cheese and bacon on them. And I like French fries with cheese and bacon and then any of those condiments. And sometimes I even like French fries with just mustard. I'm a French fry freak. You can look at my body and tell. So, yeah, but I'm proud of this. And all I can say is, yes, I am overweight. However, if we have a nuclear winter, as I've said before, I will survive while all of you skinny young people will die because I'll have the fat cells to live off of. Okay? So I'm preparing for that. And always be prepared. But in this case, we're saying we're not. So we don't want anybody whose manager's ID is 203. Okay? And that's all we're going to do. We're using the where not, and we're using an equivalence. Now down here, we use that in, and we're doing a search. You said, what is that keyword in all about? What is that all about? We'll go back to that table over there, page 51, where he gives you all of those conditions. And the in means is in a set. And the set is all those folks who report to the manager ID 20223. Then he shows us another variation, okay, where we use the or clause. Okay, here we use a date, and we use the between clause. Now let's just do this one. This is a little bit more and I'm going to add an alias, employee ID, first name. No, let's see, keep this right here. I'm going to call it hire date as hired underscore when. And I used an alias there. Where hire dates between the 16th of August 1999 and the 1st of July 2008. Okay, and in Access, we learn if you deal with dates, you probably will be smart to use pound signs. So let's see if my column alias comes to life. And then I'll feel like a genius. And there it is. Okay, and I'm going to save this as, what were we looking at, 212? We'll call this 213. Okay. The rest of the textbook, well, actually, yeah, that's 213. We've looked pretty fast at those. The between, yes, we use the between clause, and that's at the top of page 64. Now, page 65, it's a joke, so leave it alone. And then he shows you a whole kind of using an in condition, kind of find that variation. 214, and there we use the like. Okay, And let's click on here, and here we're going to use the like. And we're going to notice something here for just a moment. I'm going to run it and then run it first and then pop it back up and we'll talk about it. So click create, query design. So, oh, this, I see this. Yep. And we'll run it. Now, let's go back and look, all right, at the query. Here's our algorithm. Most of the time when you run what we call regular or periodic or routine queries, they're going to have an algorithm. They'll have a certain set of fields that get selected. And then you'll have what I call the secret sauce, and that is the conditional statements attached to that. Okay? And to give you an example, all the students that attend OBU undergraduate programs, I would like their name, their ID, first name, last name, their ID number. Beautiful. I'll run that report. Where they are from Colorado, or where they're from Texas, or where they're from Oklahoma, okay, or where they're from Durant, Oklahoma, or whatever. So you kind of see what I'm talking about. And so here we're going to get everybody who has a last name. And notice the wild card. In this case, we've said anybody whose name ends with an N, okay, or starts with an N. And we have Brown, Kern, Owens, Perkins, or contains an N. Hoffman. So it's anybody whose name contains an N. So the wild card is it can be any letters before it, any letters after it. It could even be a null after it. But anything that contains an N, we want that. Okay? And that would be 214. And we'll save that. And that's going to be 2-14. Okay? Now, at the bottom of page 66 and top of 67, he shows you a wildcard characters and their meanings, and in Access and in Oracle. And we've used that. He even shows you some Oracle code at the bottom of 67. Now, it won't work here in Access, but you can look at it and you can see that is that kind of a variation on a thing. Okay. Now, and then in the page 68, they show you the beginning table and then the result table we just obtained using the wild card. And then they talk about the 215 using the null condition. We've talked about that. And then over on page 71, he walks us into the order by clause. And if you take a look at page 273, 217, he shows you order by last name, order by one. You're basically doing some filtering. And here they have you order by department code and last name. That's over on page 75. And we're going to run this one. This is a little more complex, and this is, yeah. Here we're going to select the department code and the last name for the employees, where we're going to get anybody except employee ID 209. And then we're going to order them by department code and by last name. Now, he does a variation of this here in 219 by doing where it's a variation where the employee ID is not 209. And this time they put the name in descending order. That's what that ESC is all about, the last name. Otherwise, it goes to, by default, it goes to, by default, it's going to run into the ascending order. And you can see that. And you can see the result sets. I'm going to kind of close it off here because we've gone a little bit of the time, and again, I do appreciate you folks who are here. And again, if you can always see the front and the end of this by looking at the video if you missed some. But I want you to understand what's really important. And I think, again, you can see I just go through the book and I choose things that, and I try to avoid having you do all this repetition. But on page 79, okay, they show you the whole process. They show you the first step where you use a from clause and you get a beginning table, and then the second step, you choose the rows of data you want, and then step 3, you choose the columns that you want. In step 4, you order the columns and you sort the rows, and you end up, notice what happens. You're working through that process where you're extracting records, you're extracting fields, they're extracting records, so you get down to that particular set that you want. And notice you could see literally how that column got shorter and smaller till we got to the end of the row. And that's why we talk about the analytic cube and that notion of slicing and dicing. And that, folks, is really chapter 2. And just for a last hurrah, let's go ahead and let's run 219. Yeah, let's do 290. Okay, and if you want, you can run some other queries. I won't penalize you. Click create. And we'll do the SQL, and we'll run. I made a mistake there. I didn't have select spelled properly, and so it gave me a little error. Now we're ready, and there we are. And we'll save this as 219. Okay, and we'll go back down here and look at the design view, and you should be able to tell me. I should be able to ask you, say, okay, everybody tell me what do we got here? And you said, well, we're getting the department code and we're putting it in ascending order. Okay, we're going to take the last name of the employees and put it in descending order. Okay, and then we're going to get everybody except employee 209, and you see the operator there. And then we'll see the SQL, but you can see a lot better here. And that, my friends, is going to be Lunch's database 2 that you'll be uploading. So you'll want to do this. Save that as query, yes, I want to save it. And I'm going to save this. And I'm going to take my database, and I'm going to save the database as, and I'm going to call it, I'll put it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it SQL Fund LD2. So I know it's Lunches, and then upload it in the Lunches 2 upload, and you've done Lunches database 2. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate you being here and participating. And again, see who all is here. Supposed to be able to do this. There you go. Conley and 214, whoever you are, and Jared and Carolyn, thank you so much. And to those of you who'll be listening in on the recording, I hope this is helpful to you. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great day. I will see you Thursday in class, and we'll look at chapter 3.